So my job right now is
This
to
is kind of
spend
stupid.
less than 10 minutes total. So that's important just because that's the length of a YouTube video. And anyway, it's good to try to not go on forever, as I am wont, W-O-N-T, to do. So I'm going to set this timer thing. Oh, come on, you stupid, ridiculous thing. And instead of letting me put in 8, I've got to dial it and I was at 55. Okay, there we go. So this alarm will go off, and I need to wrap up. So I want to show you one of the most important tools of parroting. Parroting has high-tech tools and it has low-tech tools. Some of the most, and they're both important. We're so ready to, or we're being told, abandon the old for the new. But we all know that new is not necessarily better. We should accept change. But who determines what changes are important, should be made, and which shouldn't? The people who make money by selling apps that get us to think more and more like computers? Or is there a place to retain this simple little staples, spiral, wire-bound notebook that can fit into your pocket that costs 45 cents, 40 cents on sale? Or maybe it's normally 60 or 80 cents per book, which, depending on how active you are, you might use it for a week, or it might last you a month or two. I mean, it's free, basically. Just as our high-tech tool is basically free, because we all, any of us who already have a smartphone and a computer at home and broadband, and especially if we already have a Mac and we already have iLife, which is cheap enough. The Mac's expensive, but iLife is cheap enough. Well, with that, we don't need anything more to be able to communicate, either in writing or in vocally, through words, in audio, or video. We can do any of that. We can communicate with anybody in the world who has that set up themselves. And it's a large percentage and a growing percentage of the world. It's unbelievable what we have at our disposal. But just because we have that doesn't mean we should become machines. Just because we could buy things more readily and we could find out who happens to be walking down the street nearby us more readily, and just because we could become marketing agents for all sorts of new products that nobody ever needed, and that's why they want us to tell our friends to like their products, etc. Just because all that can be done, what are your thoughts on that one? So this notebook, it's an amazing thing. Little old-fashioned. Do I then have to put a but after it? Well, it's a little old-fashioned, but it works. No. Maybe it is a little old-fashioned. Some fashions from the past, such as paper and pencil, were fashions for a reason. In fact, they were much more than fashion. They were the way. And just because there is a different way to do what was done before doesn't necessarily mean it's a better way. I find that I can write much more freely, and I could do things, for example, I could write something, let me see, Oh, well, like this little diamond thing. It's a new convention that I've come up with, and it applies to some different things. Video. And then I decided, you know what, over time, I start spelling it out, but over time I'm going to make it less and less. So if you see a V with a diamond around it, you know that what I was doing at the time that this recording, that was 22 minutes and 7 seconds long, what I was doing was creating a video that I see. Let's see, phone. Oh, it's a loop. It was from the subway. See, I can, just from looking at this, well, it's not that long ago. It was from 8/7. That was yesterday when I started this notebook. But as you can see, I find there to be reason to do a lot since yesterday. This was all yesterday, I think. Or is this today? This is today. This is this morning. This was last night. This was the last thing I did last night. And for some reason, oh, I think that this is the beginning of today. 8/8. Okay, the date. This was the beginning of today. So I've done a few things today, too. And, well, if you just kind of look at what I've done here, to do this on my little smartphone here, well, I spent a long time. Oh, well, this is what a smartphone's good for. Okay? This is what it's good for. This is new. I mean, there was a thing called a watch, and people could use it, and people who wore a watch all the time would be able to keep track because it's right there and they keep checking. So it's not as if this is a necessary improvement, but since there are many things like this that are contained in this one little doohickey here, I've decided to give up on the watch, use this. Sometimes I wish I had a watch, but I don't like that. You know, one of the things that I hate about a watch more than anything is that the strap. I sweat a lot. And the strap, either it's a metal one, in which case it's all slippery, and or it's like leather or plastic, and oh my gosh, what a stink after a while. My sweat. You know, it just, I hate it. So I prefer my wrist without
I'm
a
a
watch.
little in lag
So in
because
my
I recorded
mind,
the audio
this
first. I find
wrist,
that looking at
timer,
dealing with
that,
the
some
video
of the
stuff
newer
is
watches have
complicated.
timers on them.
So
I've
I
got my
first
time
did
here.
this
It's not as
this
easy
little
as
thingy,
got a watch.
and now I'm
Sometimes
just
I
kind of
lose
acting
track
it
of time
out.
when if
You know,
I
I'm
had a
showing
watch,
you what
I
I'm
wouldn't.
listening through my.
Anyway,
Oh,
22
everything's
seconds left.
backwards here. You see
About
right
8
there?
minutes.
That's
Gotta keep it
connected
under
to
10
my
minutes.
recorder, which is playing
So
what
you
I
need to be
just
aware.
did like 15 minutes ago. Oh, there we go. We
So I'll
snooze
just
it.
point out a
Just
few more
doing. I'm doing the
things.
same thing I did before.
And
Oh, and it snoozed to.
I'm just trying to think of how I
3
can use
minutes,
this. I don't
and,
know. I have another thing. This is going to go
I'm
off.
reminded that, well, I want to keep it under 10 minutes, so I actually only
I can
want it to
snooze
go
it.
to about 1.5 minutes, and then I got to
3
stop.
minutes. Well, that's too much.
Oh, so
by
yes,
the time it
PFS.
gets down to 1, that's in fact
PFS.
1.5. I have about 1 minute. left.
DFS, I put
I
this a
put
lot.
the 8
Oh,
minutes.
the one that I,
It was
let's see.
The time was already going. So I kind of just point a few more things out, just so you know. PFS is an indicator that I believe
There's
what
a
I
personal
just
thing.
did is fine.
What
Go
parroting
out
has done
on
for
the-
me. And I
and
thought, you
makes
know
it
what, this
fine
is not only a
mainly,
PFS, this is a
most
plus, plus,
important
plus,
is
which means,
I wasn't talking
like,
about anything personal or personally identifiable.
Like,
I frequently
right
talk
after
about
this,
personal things.
I'm going to put this one
But
up.
as long as I'm not
Not
identifying either
video.
myself or the
Video's
other people I'm
complicated.
talking about,
So I'm just going to make it an audio podcast.
okay, I don't mind it going out. I don't mind you knowing things that are personal to me, because what's personal to me is very likely to.
I
have
also
some
find it
sort of
valuable to think
relevance
about,
to
listen to
things that are
myself
personal to
thinking
you.
about something in the past.
Maybe I'm very different, and the way I
Because it
handle
helps
things
me
is different
see
from the way
when
you
I'm not
would.
thinking in
But
good
listening
ways.
to the way
And I need
handle
to think
things
in new
is
ways when I listen to
enjoy.
myself.
I find it very valuable.
So both listening to you and your idea, your way of thinking, as well as listening to myself and my ideas.